Hey, folks, and welcome into episode 16 of the Longhorn Mailbag, answering your questions from our board over on horns247.com. Thanks for being here with us on the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel. Let's jump right into this one. First up, our TCU True False Prediction segment, brought to us, as always, by our good friend Ranger's dad. How about your boy last week? 5-0 on my predictions. It's always the goal, and we finally hit it last week, so looking to keep it rolling here in TCU week. Starting off number one today, Texas will win this game by double digits. I'm saying false here. Now, I kind of teetered back and forth on this, but as I look at it more, I think TCU keeps this game closer than most people think because they have such a high-powered offense that loves to move the ball through the air, even with a backup quarterback in Josh Hoover playing there right now. Texas 94th in the country in passing yards allowed per game. TCU is the 16th best offense through the air in the nation. So unless the secondary for Texas tightens up in coverage, which is something that we talked about on the post-game analysis segment, I can see TCU moving the ball through the air and eventually maybe scoring points off of that heavy passing game that Kendall Briles has instilled as the offensive coordinator there. Number two, Malik Murphy will throw 2 touchdown passes. Now, of course, Quinn Ewers' status is still day to day. This isn't a report that he's out or anything, or that Malik Murphy has the starting job. But if Malik Murphy does start on Saturday, I say true here, assuming that he starts. Again, Steve Sarkisian is going to want him to throw the ball more to make him more comfortable. Now, obviously, he's had a couple of errant throws that haven't gone his way. But if Texas wants to win games, he's going to need to throw the ball and complete passes. We saw him kind of unravel after those first couple of drives. And if that happens, Texas can't win. So try to get him more comfortable. Start him off a little bit slower like we saw in the BYU game where simple crossing routes and short passes to get him warmed up, and then let him take a deep shot here and there because the deep ball has really been working for him. I think we see another deep shot touchdown from Malik Murphy in this game, since that seems to be one of his strong suits. So, yes, I do think he throws at least 2 if he starts. Number 3, the defense will get 3 sacks in this one. I'm going true here. It feels like Texas has gotten so much better in the pass rush aspect of this game since the bye week. And Steve Sarkisian mentioned that that's something that he wanted to see improvement from, and they have. Nice performance last week against the Kansas State offensive line that has a couple NFL prospects on there. Cooper Beebe, I believe, is a first-round mock right now. Don't quote me on that. But nonetheless, a very good, cohesive unit that I believe they returned all 5 starters as well. They have 3 sacks and 7 tackles for loss against that unit. So I can certainly see them doing the same thing against a TCU offensive line that lost 3 starters coming into the season. They loaded up in the transfer portal and recruited well, but nonetheless, I see Texas getting 3 or more sacks in this one. Up next, the Longhorns will force 2+ turnovers. I'm going true here. If Josh Hoover starts at quarterback for TCU, we'll see. Maybe if Chandler Morris gets back into the game. I'm not sure about his status. We'll see if Sonny Dykes has an update for that later in the week. But if Hoover starts at quarterback for TCU, he's thrown a pick in every game that he's appeared in this season. I think he throws at least 2 against Texas, and the secondary is able to nab him on some routes. Now, again, earlier I mentioned TCU's offense is going to move the ball down the field, and I think they will. But I think there will be some of those kind of freshman-esque throws from Josh Hoover mixed in there for the Texas defense to capitalize. And maybe the Longhorns win the turnover battle, like we mentioned in the post-game analysis as well. Steve Sarkisian's team's undefeated when they win the turnover battle. I think they can definitely do that in this one. Number 5, Arch Manning will finally make an appearance. I'm going false here. I think it would really take a lot for Steve Sarkisian to pull the trigger on putting Arch Manning into this game because it would be a situational substitution. We'll talk about this in a later question we've got coming up, so I'll leave it for that. But I'm going false here just because this is a guy who hasn't taken a single college snap yet. You're on the road in a tough environment in Fort Worth. I'm going false here, and they stick it out with either Quinn Ewers or Malik Murphy. And last but not least, number 6, Jonathan Brooks scores twice. I'm going true here, especially if Quinn Ewers doesn't play. Jonathan Brooks is going to need to be continued to be leaned upon. Even if Quinn Ewers plays, they're going to lean on the run game a lot in all of the ball games they've got coming up. So since he's shown he can get the job done in every game that he's played this season, I think this is something that he definitely can do. Give me 1 on the ground and 1 through the air from Malik Murphy or Quinn Ewers for Jonathan Brooks in this next game. All right, jumping into our questions now from YDoc81. He asks, can you give reasons of why there should and shouldn't be a quarterback competition this week? So I'm assuming he's asking about Malik Murphy and Arch Manning. Well, if you want an argument for why there should be one, you can easily say that it's because Malik Murphy has struggled. He's thrown a bunch of interceptions, and two of them that really ultimately just were thrown right to the defenders. The other one was a throw where Jonte Cook ended up slipping. So had Jonte been open, maybe he can make a play on the ball, but instead it's an interception for Kansas State. So there's your argument for why you should have a competition. You've got the number one overall player in the last signing class in Arch Manning waiting behind Malik Murphy. And he struggled. So there's your argument for why you should have a competition. See if maybe Arch plays better in practice this week or not. Now, why you shouldn't have a quarterback competition is you look at Malik Murphy. He struggled, but he's 2-0. He's won you 2 ball games. He has the experience. He has the collegiate snaps. Arch Manning has not taken a single collegiate snap so far in his career. So no experience versus some experience, even if some of it is bad experience for Malik Murphy. And number 3, you add on to the fact for Arch Manning that you're going into a road environment. Now, granted, you can say the same thing for Malik Murphy. He played a little bit in that game against Houston and ended up helping them out. But really, it was the run game that won Texas that game late and the defense that won Texas that game late. So you're putting Malik Murphy into his first start here at TCU. And if you were doing that with Arch Manning, I think there's a lot more to worry about just because you're taking your first snap in a hostile territory. Malik Murphy has had those snaps before, although limited, and that experience I think is very valuable. So there's your would and there's your reasons why you should and shouldn't have a quarterback competition this week. I lean more towards the should, and I think Malik Murphy, if Quinn Ewers doesn't play, should absolutely be the starter in this game. And last but not least, from South Texas Horn 90, is T'Vondre Sweat the front runner for the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year? And who else is in the conversation? Well, I think you can definitely point your finger to T'Vondre Sweat and say that guy. Maybe I'm not completely sure about front runner, but he's definitely high on the list. I think I would put him pretty high up there. When it comes to who else is in the conversation, a couple names that come to mind off the bat: Danny Stutzman from Oklahoma, tackling machine, another tackling machine over at Oklahoma State, and Nicholas Martin. And then Kobe Bryant at Kansas. I think those are 3 guys in the Big 12 who are having great years on the defensive side of the ball. But you really have to think, are they having better years than T'Vondre Sweat? I mean, this is a guy that it seems like no one can get past. Just plugs up the middle of that defensive line. He's able to get good pressure on it. I think if the award was to be given today, it would be hard to not give it to big number 93 for Texas. So I think there's definitely a conversation to be had for all of those guys. They all impact the game in a different way for their respective teams. But T'Vondre Sweat is very good at what he does, and he will be at the next level as well. So we'll leave it at that. That's going to do it for this episode of the Longhorn Mailbag. I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel. As always, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you're the first to know when new content heads your way. For the rest of the crew, I'm Tommy Yarrish. Thanks again for being here, and we'll see you next time.